Hi, my name is Dominic Lawson, and I want to welcome you back for a new season of Black is America. You know what? I'm sorry. I got to run that back because I said that wrong. Hold on for just a second here. All right. Let's try this again. Hi, my name is Dominic Lawson, and I want to welcome you back for a new season of the 9-time award-winning Black is America podcast. As you can see, we had a very successful first season as we told the story of a NASCAR legend, a legendary songstress, a roller skating civil rights activist, a military hero, and more. I, from the bottom of my heart, just want to say thank you for everyone who supports this show. I really do appreciate it, and our team appreciates it as well. And speaking of that support, let me just read some of the reviews you have sent us. This one comes from Anna Deshawn, titled "Such a Great Podcast. The audio production is on point and the storytelling is so engaging. I love it." We love you, Anna Deshawn. Thank you so much for sharing that. This next one comes from Mr. Al Pete, titled "Absolute Great Show. Great dialogue, great host, all around great show. The history lesson is easy to take in. It's informative and entertaining. The recipe of getting a good point across." And he has 3 emojis of the top arrow going up. Thank you, Mr. Al Pete. I really appreciate that insight in that review. Thank you so much for that. And lastly, we have Jen W314, titled "Excellent Podcast About Black History. Kudos to Dom, who has put together an excellent concept with this podcast, which sheds light on so many great stories from our history, which we don't always hear about. All the details are there. Great storytelling, music, and facts. I really try my best. Those facts can definitely be kind of hard to find. You know, you got to cross-reference them and all that great stuff. But thank you so much for that amazing review, Jen. I really appreciate that. Look, we take great pride in the sound design, storytelling, and every other element it takes to make each episode top-notch, which leads me to the way we write each episode and the Easter eggs we put in some of them. See, while we do write each show so that it's fun, insightful, and engaging, because, I mean, come on, who said history had to be boring? But there are clues that suggest things that we will cover in the future on the Black is America podcast, which leads us to our premiere of our second season. But first, do you remember this from our episode, Lieutenant John Fox, an All-American Hero?
Once John and Arlene decided to marry, they planned a big wedding the following spring in Brockton to coincide with Arlene's father's birthday. But after the attack on Pearl Harbor, they moved up their wedding date because they could not be certain when John might be shipped out. John was determined that they marry before this happened.
December 7th, 1941 changed a lot of things for a lot of people that day. 2,335 souls were lost due to an attack by the Japanese a little before 8 a.m. that day. During that attack, an African-American Navy cook would take heroic action that would immortalize him in American history. But that's another story for another day. See, when we started the show, I knew I wanted to cover the amazing story of Doris Miller, the sailor at Pearl Harbor. That also explains why we released the trailer today, December 7th, to acknowledge what happened at Pearl Harbor 81 years ago to the day. So here is the opening segment of the Season 2 premiere of Black is America, Doris Miller, the American Defender, and it begins now. December 7th, 1941, aboard the USS West Virginia, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. It's a beautiful Sunday morning and just before 8 a.m., Navy cook and Texas native Doris "Dory" Miller has been up since 6 a.m. serving breakfast and is now collecting dirty laundry. He had the duties of cook and collecting laundry due to the color of his skin. Naval policy was such that African Americans could only do certain jobs and definitely could not hold jobs that had anything to do with weaponry. But when you are in a combat situation, you would be surprised how silly rules like that can sometimes be overlooked. The reason being for that is because, as William Tecumseh Sherman put it best, war is hell. Suddenly, there's an explosion and the general alarm to man battle stations was sounded. On the way to his post, Dory realizes that it's damaged by a torpedo, so he heads to the ship's deck. And once he is on deck, he sees the Japanese planes all around attacking the fleet. Miller is then ordered to help wounded sailors and get them to safety. This is all while trying to steer clear of enemy fire himself. Then Miller is ordered to help feed ammo to a pair of anti-aircraft machine guns in an effort to return fire on the Japanese. But as he does this, he notices that only one of them is being used. So without being told and with no prior training, mess attendant second class Doris Miller mans the second Browning .50 caliber machine gun and returns fire on the dive-bombing Japanese. I couldn't tell you what was going through Uncle Dory's mind to take this action. I mean, there is the great possibility of him being reprimanded for disobeying orders, or worse, probably killed. But what I do know is that on December 7th, 1941, Dory Miller's actions remind us of what we have always known to be true. Whenever America has been under attack, Black America has always been there to defend it. So what do you think? You just heard the opening monologue for Doris Miller, the American Defender, for the Season 2 premiere of Black is America. Trust me, it's going to be a very exciting episode along with other powerful stories we're going to share with you for Season 2. They include a Super Bowl winning quarterback, an astronaut, a highly sought after fashion designer, and more. We will share with you 4 amazing stories during Black History Month and then the other stories throughout the year. I mentioned earlier that we had a successful first season. The Black is America podcast was the winner of 4 Communicator Awards for writing, storytelling, host, and our solo episode for Lieutenant John Fox, an All-American hero. Then they were followed up by 4 W3 Awards for, again, writing and hosting, but also the Gold Award for General Series in the History category, and their top prize Best in Show Award for our feature on Wendell Scott, an American racing legend. Lastly, we brought home Podcast of the Year by the Memphis Excellence Awards. And due to that success, in March of 2023, I will be speaking at South by Southwest on a panel about podcasting, storytelling, and more. But with all the great news, I need to share a bit of sad news. Carl Westmoreland, who was featured on our piece on John Fox, was the senior historian at the National Underground Railroad Freedom Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. He was an award-winning historian and a fierce advocate of civil rights, especially in his native area of Cincinnati. His contribution to the John Fox episode was vital in providing background information to help tell his story. I learned recently he passed away not long after that episode debuted in March of 2022. I'm so happy and honored to have had the chance to speak with him and gain knowledge that I could share with you before he went on to go be with the ancestors. When I shared with him what I was trying to do with the show, he didn't hesitate. He didn't ask about followership, who else was going to be on the show, or any of that. He simply just agreed and was thankful that someone wanted to do this work. He said so himself.
I thank you for sharing, for trying to find us. I couldn't believe that you existed. I'm glad.
The plan was to collaborate with him again for Season 2, because even though we only used a few minutes of his interview from last season, we talked for over an hour. He told me so many stories that were fascinating, and he was absolutely down for coming back for Season 2.
Would it be okay to talk to you again in the future about other things like this?
As long as I'm breathing, you got ears, I'll try it.
Obviously, I'm sad that I won't get that chance, but I'm so humble and grateful for the time that we did have and to be able to call him my friend. You know, a griot is a storyteller in the West African tradition that tells stories of the past so that we can learn from them and not forget them. For over 60 years, Carl Westmoreland was one of the many storytellers who shared our history with so many to remind us that the story of America, without us, is simply incomplete, and he was grateful that a new generation was here to use technology and platforms such as podcasting to share our stories with a new audience. So speaking with him last year felt like a passing of the torch in a way, and I will not take that for granted. You rest well now, Uncle Carl. Your watch has ended. Trust me, we got it from here. So with that being said, we welcome you to Season 2 of the Black is America podcast, which debuts February 1st, 2023. Be sure to like, review, and subscribe to Black is America on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also listen to the show and read transcripts of each episode on blackisamericapodcast.com. There, you can read our blog, leave us a review, or you can leave us a voicemail to let us know what you think of the show that we will play on a later episode. Once again, welcome back for Season 2 of the Black is America podcast, where our history comes to life. We will talk to you in February.